What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be breaking down why Kunkka is one of the best mid laners in the current patch, and that is reflected by his 54% win rate according to Dotabuff. This hero feels really strong, especially when you're playing it from the mid lane. I don't think offlane Kunkka is that great, and safe lane Kunkka can definitely be okay if you're a Kunkka player and you definitely know your matchups from the safe lane. Then I guess you can get some value, but it's not the hardest scaling hero, but it is a very good hero from the mid lane. It can farm very quickly and can be pretty active on this hero. But if you find that you're running into a very slow lineup, or your team just wants to take their time and farm, you are very content with doing that. Kunkka is one of the best farmers in the game. You should definitely make stacks for yourself. Don't depend on your teammates to be making stacks for you, because you're going to be very disappointed. Especially the lower MMR you go, you're going to be very disappointed to find out that most supports don't even stack or don't know how to stack. So definitely make your own stacks. It's going to be a lot more beneficial for you. You can shove out the mid lane very quickly and go take your stacks. So pretty much every time you shove the mid lane, you go and make yourself a stack. That's pretty much how it goes. Sometimes you kind of forget or you get lazy to do so. I completely understand. I do that myself. Sometimes you don't want to be the most efficient player out there and you're just content with being lazy. That's absolutely fine as well. I mean, Dota is a game. You got to have some fun with it as well. It can't all be technical, but stack as much as you can. You're going to get a lot more value. You're going to get your phase boots as a much better timing. This hero overall also dominates a lot of lanes that he wasn't able to win before. Lina is a new hero coming into the meta that is very strong with the new magical build and the fact that it does some chip damage here and there. I felt like Lina was pretty strong, but against the Kunkka, it definitely doesn't do very well, especially if you know how to dominate the early game. If you let the Lina get on top of you, harass you, and kick you out of lane, you're practically screwed. You could definitely go jungle, but it just doesn't feel good. You want to be able to take the lane farm. You want to be able to take the jungle farm as well. You want to be able to optimize your farm as much as possible and get online quickly. And the best way to get online on this hero, for me especially, is to play with the phase boots blade mail build. That way, if they want to hit you, you're going to be doing a lot of damage to them. And it's a very good build. A lot of the pro players have been running it as well. Then you could kind of play until your heart's desire and build whatever the hell you want. But mostly I tend to go for phase boots, bracer, blade mail into either Aghanim Scepter or Daedalus. It honestly depends. If my team has a lot of damage, then I go for the Aghanim Scepter so I get that control. If my team is lacking some damage and they need me to provide a lot of that damage, then I go for the Daedalus, as you're going to be doing a hell of a lot of damage, especially if you get a nice big Tidebringer into a squishy support. You might be able to just one-shot them completely if you find the right side angles, which is always very fun to be looking for those. It's very fun to see a support just pop with one Daedalus crit. It's one of the best things you can do on this hero. It's very fun. And then you can opt for a BKB, a refresher, or a hex. It depends. Honestly, if you're running into a physical lineup and they don't have a lot of stuns, then you can always go for the refresher and go for a hex as well. It's also very strong. You don't really have the mana pool for the refresher, but eventually if you get a Shiva's, you can actually have the mana pool to spam all your spells and actually have some mana in the tank. This hero just feels incredibly strong. It wins its lane most of the time, unless you're playing against like Huskars or Vipers or heroes like this that definitely do very well against heroes like Kunkka or Shadowfeed. But overall, pretty much any melee hero will get dumpstered by the Kunkka, except the Earthshaker. Earthshaker is very strong at the current meta and definitely beats the Kunkka out. I made a matchup video about that. I will leave a link down below for you guys to check that out. That is one of the few heroes that is very popular in the meta and does extremely well against the Kunkka. It definitely destroys it. It out denies him, and every time the Kunkka walks up for a CS, he just eats an enchant totem to the face. That is something he cannot get rid of. He cannot deal with, and the Earthshaker just does a lot more. But they're both very team fight oriented heroes. Boat is one of the best spells in the game. Torrent is so good right now, especially because you don't need to land it. You need to land it for the stun, but not for the damage. So you can definitely secure kills as long as they're in that whirlpool of AoE. Then you can still do the damage, which was never a thing back a few patches ago, was never a thing. So it's definitely a very good quality of life change. I covered it in my other Kunkka video, but this hero feels incredibly strong and incredibly fun to play. I love that Kunkka is back in the meta. I love that Earthshaker is back in the meta. Tusk is one of my favorite heroes. He is not back in the meta, but at least two of my heroes are back in the meta, because I have not been playing Invoker as much as I was before. Invoker to me feels very weak, even though his win rate is high. The fact that you can do a lot more things with him because he's universal, a lot weirder builds. I just don't think Invoker is really that broken like people are mentioning out to be. He's still good. It's still Invoker. Invoker has always been good, especially in the right hands. I just don't see that perceived value of people going insane over banning Invoker every single game. It's not that insane, guys. Like, honestly, it depends on the matchup. Some games are free Invoker games. That's just how it goes. It makes the hero feel absolutely broken. But if it's not a free Invoker game, they have heroes like Night Stalker, They have a bunch of stuns. The laning phase doesn't go good for you. There's a lot of ways to get on top of him and silence him and kill him. It's going to be a very garbage Invoker game, and you really don't want to go first item BKB on Invoker. It just doesn't feel good. You want to get other items. But on the Kunkka, one of the best builds you could also go for is for the Orchid build that turns into a Bloodthorn with the Blade Mail and the Aghanim Scepter. It's very, very strong because Bloodthorn does a hell of a lot of damage. Orchid has always been a good item on Kunkka, and these are items you can farm quite quickly. One of the things people need to learn about this hero is that not always because you're the mid, you need to be involved in every single team fight. You can also step back and take some farm priority because you are the mid. You can take some of this farm priority, some of this space, and be able to get a lot more done because a lot of players feel very pressured into getting into very stupid team fights just because their carry is there or their team is there. Don't always take some dumb fights. If you, especially in pubs, like you're not playing with 5 of your friends, right? So the communication isn't always there. If you see your team is taking a stupid fight, just because they're taking it doesn't mean you have to be there. If you're close to an item, a very strong power timing like BKB or Daedalus, ignore that fight. Honestly, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. You're not going to lose the game. You could definitely fall behind over one team fight, but you're not going to lose the game. So definitely keep in mind on what your priorities need to be and what items you're close to getting, and let your team know. Have some communication yourself and tell them, hey, I'm almost close to my Daedalus. I don't want to fight. And if they choose to take a fight without you, then they should not be pinging you and telling you, hey, you should have been there. This hero definitely farms extremely well, so you need to take advantage of that and not always be team fighting, especially when boat is down. When boat is down, all you have is X marks the spot torrent, which is a really good setup if you know how to land it consistently. You can definitely do a lot of work with it, but it's not the same as boat. Boat is practically your best ability for control and for that stun, and the run buff is absolutely insane for your team. So if you don't have boat, step back, start farming some creeps, and get your timings a lot faster because you will start falling behind, and then your abilities are definitely not going to do as much damage as they used to. So definitely keep that in mind. Don't take stupid fights on this hero. Shove the mid lane, do your stacks, and you're going to do very, very well on this hero, even against hard lane matchups. But it definitely does very well. If you play to your strengths within first level to third level, you're going to do a lot better because you're going to be able to harass that enemy mid out of the lane. If you let yourself get pressured, then it's definitely not going to be good for you, and you're going to have to go to the jungle. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about Kunkka. If you guys have been enjoying this hero and the rise of Kunkka and his really strong win rate in the current meta. His best position is mid, so definitely be playing him from the mid lane. I'd like to know you guys' opinion if you guys like that Kunkka is back in the meta. For me, I'm very excited. I'm a Kunkka player. I definitely enjoy playing this hero, and it's very fun to be seeing this hero back in the meta and being played quite consistently. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. A like would be much appreciated. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.